Rolling. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about how I build my audiences. Okay. Now, there is going to be two types of audiences, and a lot of people get these confused. Okay. We have warm audiences and we have cold audiences. Okay. Now, here is a common misconception that I see is that people treat lookalike audiences as if they are warm audiences. Okay. So inside the Facebook audience manager, you're going to be able to create 3 different types of audiences. Okay. So we have warm audiences, right? These are people who are already engaging with us. Facebook calls those custom audiences. Okay. So some of you guys already have warm audiences that you could be showing your content to. I'm going to walk you guys through how I do it whenever I get a new agency client. But some of you guys might want to go a little bit further out. For instance, whenever I get an agency client or I get a private student that comes in for an office day, the first audiences that we make are these right here. Facebook page engagement. Now, I do 30 days with most people who come into my program because most of them have already been running ads. They already have a decent sized audience, and we always want to go after the low hanging fruit. So that's why I say 30 days. But here's the thing. A lot of you guys who are on this call right now may not have ever ran ads or ran very little ads to where you might have to go to 365 days. Okay. So depending on how big of a size your audience is, you might want to say Facebook page engagement 365 days versus 30. Your website traffic, you might want to go 180 days. So the pixel will only keep traffic for 180 days. Now, your Instagram, you could go 365 days. Anything that is on the platform. So we're talking video views. We are talking anything about page engagement. You can go as far back as 365 days. But here are the warm audiences that I build. So in your case, you might want to build Facebook page engagement 365 days. Anyone who has visited your website in the last 180, anyone who has engaged with your Instagram in the last 365 days, anyone who's watched any of your videos, you can, and Facebook will allow you, and I'll show you guys all of this stuff too, but Facebook will allow you to select individual videos, or it'll allow you to group them all together depending on how you want to do it, and then your email list. Okay. Now, how to build these audiences, I'm going to link this in the document for today's course just so that we don't have to go through it, because I want to get to the most important part, and that is actually building your saved audiences, which are your cold targeted audiences. But for right now, what I want you guys to know is that your warm audiences, you need to be building those. Okay. And again, I'm going to link the resources of the step-by-step instructions on how to do that in the audience manager. But I want you guys to understand that your lookalike audiences are built from your warm audiences. They are not, lookalike audiences are not warm audiences. So your lookalike audiences need to be treated as a cold audience. I see a lot of people trying to use both their lookalike and warm audiences in a retargeting sequence. That is not what we want to do. Lookalike audiences are cold audiences. Now, here's one of the main questions that I get now after iOS. Okay. This training today is going to pertain to post iOS update. Okay. Because I'm hearing a lot that lookalike audiences have gone to shit. I have experienced that as well. But in some of my clients, lookalike audiences are still performing better than the cold targeting audiences. And one of the things that you guys need to understand is that I'm looking at Maya's question, Maya's audiences right now in the chat. The way that her ad account behaves is going to be different than the way that Ginger's audience ad account is going to behave. And so that is why I like to show you guys my audience document so that you can see all of the different audiences that I test for not only myself, but for my clients. Because again, you might see someone post, my lookalike audiences are crap. And then another person might be like, well, my lookalike audiences are crushing it right now. Now, here's one of the things that if you created your lookalike audience before iOS, what I'm going to actually have you do is if you've already created a whole bunch of audiences and this was before iOS, and I'm only talking about your warm and lookalike audiences. We're not talking about the cold targeted audiences yet, okay? If you created your warm audiences before the iOS update, what I'm going to have you do is actually recreate your warm audiences and then recreate your lookalike audiences. That has fixed a lot of the lookalike audience problems that people have been having. Okay. So those are the first two recommendations that I'm going to say is if you haven't created your warm audiences, you're good, right? You're starting from scratch. That's awesome. These are the warm audiences that I suggest that you create. And again, I'm going to have step-by-step instructions on how to do that linked here to a step-by-step training. And then your lookalike audience, we want to create all of those too. If you had created these audiences in the past before iOS, I would recommend that you recreate your warm audiences and then from those warm audiences, recreate your lookalike audiences. Okay. You guys ready to get into the fun stuff? So these are all of the cold audiences to test. Okay. Most of you guys know that Facebook Audience Insights went bye-bye. If you go to Facebook Audience Insights, all it's going to show you is your data for your business page. That made me really sad because I loved using Audience Insights in order to find more audiences. Now I recommend a tool. It is called Interest Explorer. I am going to link that software here into the document after the training. And I'm going to show you guys how I actually build those audiences. And so here's the thing. What Interest Explorer actually does is, so let's say I am looking up Gary Vaynerchuk, right? So if I go into detailed targeting and I type in Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Let's see. There we go. And I type this, right? Facebook is going to suggest more. These are when Facebook suggests more, as you can see, these are very popular audiences, right? What Interest Explorer actually does is gets some of the audience that Facebook will not suggest. Therefore, a lot of other people are not targeting them. So in this case, like John Loomer Digital. John Loomer is someone that a lot of people don't realize would be a good targeting option for people in the digital space. Of course, now you guys know because I just told you, but it's because Interest Explorer finds those audiences that Facebook will not suggest here. So therefore, you kind of get to tap into some audiences that a lot of other people don't know existed. So a lot of people ask me, why do I use Interest Explorer? And don't worry, I'm going to give you guys a link to that. And you guys can, I'll actually show you guys how that works too. So what we're going to do is let's go back to the audiences. So the way that I actually build out my cold targeted audiences, I do it in 3 different layouts. Okay. The first layout that I do is something I like to call my layered audiences. So as you can see here, and these, by the way, are the audiences that I start with. So a lot of people ask me, Laurel, if I'm doing power content, which of the audiences do you prefer to use? You guys are gonna see that I use layered audiences. I do something that's called big group audiences and then indie campaigns, okay? And I'm going to explain what each of those are. But for those of you guys who are like, okay, I'm ready to launch my power content, my layered campaign is the one that I'm always going to go to first. Now, here's how this works, okay? If I come down to my big group audience, most people, whenever they are building out campaigns, they're building them out like this, okay? So if I go here, let me undo Gary Vaynerchuk. Most people will just throw in a whole bunch of audiences like this, right? So our big group audience, what this is telling Facebook is that people have to only like one of these interests, right? It's just saying they have to like Ali Brown or Amy Porterfield or Danielle or Frank Kern or Gabrielle. The difference with the layered audiences is we're going to tell Facebook they have to be interested in one of these, and they must also be interested in at least one of these, and they also have to be interested in one of these too. So now do you see how layering your audience can be a really cool technique to really drill down to who is this person that I'm trying to actually reach? Okay. So I like using this layered campaign in two places. I like using it for power content, and I like using it for either a lead magnet or a low ticket offer. Here's why I like starting off with this audience versus doing the big group. If you have no pixel data, this layered technique is actually going to help you help Facebook find the right person. Okay. Once you have sales, once you start having pixel data, once you start having on platform data like video views, people who are engaging with your Facebook page, and then once you have people engaging with your funnel, whether that is through a lead magnet or through a low ticket offer, then you could move to the big group campaign, because this is going to allow you to scale a bit, right? Because this will give you the option to go more broad, because then that's telling Facebook they have to like this or this, right? But remember, the more pixel data that you have, the closer Facebook is going to be able to find that targeted audience in a more broad way. So when we can go broader, it lowers our CPM, meaning our impressions per 1,000 people reached, right? These audiences right here are going to cost you a little bit more, but they're more targeted, okay? Now, Facebook just released this little button down here that says detailed targeting expansion, right? So if I go and X all of these out, what you're going to see is this little thing. Facebook is about to make this mandatory for this type of targeting. Some of you guys will automatically have this checked. People are like freaking out over this. Here's the thing. I've been using it with my layered audiences for the last several months and have been getting excellent results. A lot of people are really mad about it, but here's the thing. Facebook lost a lot of data after the iOS update. Some people are opting out and blah, 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 blah. So my belief is that Facebook is forcing this reach people beyond your detailed targeting in order to make up for that. But here's the thing. if we are using a layered technique, right? So check this out. So let's say I'm going to copy this, and I'll show you guys how this works in other niches too. So let's say I do that, right? And then I'm going to narrow my audience, right? And then I'm going to say, okay, Facebook, they must also be interested in one of these. And I'm going to paste that in there. And then I'm going to say, Facebook, I'm going to take it one step further. And these people also must be interested in social media marketing and digital marketing. But do you see like how I'm giving Facebook a lot of data points to find my audience? So if we go here, and guys, of course, right here, don't be freaked out about this. This happens to everyone. Okay. So right here, this freaks out people a lot because Facebook it's very wonky right now. This audience size right here is reflecting it with the reach button. Let me see. Facebook's being wonky right now. Let me scroll down here. There we go. You see how if I check this or uncheck this, that audience gets a lot smaller, right? So without it checked, we're looking at 2.4 million, 3.4 million. But with this box checked, it opens it up to 41 million, 43 million. Okay. Now, here's the thing. When I do my power content with this layered audience, I will uncheck this box because I want to use the smaller audience for my power content. But here's where I'm finding that checking the box works really well is with conversion type campaigns. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you to do. Okay. I would say if this is your first time placing ads, don't get freaked out about this stuff. Okay. Don't get freaked out because this can be a lot. I want you guys just to get comfortable with building out your audiences. Now, again, some of you guys are going to be forced into this thing checked, and that's okay. Don't freak out. It's okay. And then once we move on from the layered audiences, then we can graduate to the big group type audiences and the individual audiences. Now, here's the thing as well. Here's something else that I've been testing is whenever I am putting in, like, let's say I put in Gabrielle Bernstein, I'm going to not only put her name in here, I'm going to also check this, reach people beyond your detailed targeting when it's likely to improve performance. So I have actually been testing the independent audiences with the box checked and without it being checked. But if your box is automatically checked, don't freak out. It's going to be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to X these out. And I'm going to go further up. And I am going to pick a couple of you guys here in the chat as far as getting your audiences built. If you are in the online coaching space, guess what? You don't have to do the work because you can just rip my audiences off. I don't care. A lot of people would not just give you guys their audiences if they're in the online digital space, but guys, I use them with all my clients. I would love it if you used my audiences because I put a lot of hard work into building them. So don't worry about ripping me off. I am giving them to you guys for a reason. Okay. So if we go all the way to the top of the messenger, let's see. Let's see who's got one that is that's very different. I'm going to go down the chat. So let's see. Dr. Yam, keeping it simple coach. She says new solopreneurs struggling with content marketing methods. Okay. Here's something that I would do. Like, let's say I was building the audiences. And again, here's the thing. We're going to want to build at least 5 of these audiences to use. Okay. So if you could actually, I want to say solopreneurship is here. Let me see. Ooh, look, the Solopreneur Hour podcast. That's awesome. Not the audience isn't quite big enough, but I would start with entrepreneurship, right? They have all of these different things. I would start with entrepreneurship. And let's see, I would have fun with it. So this is how I build I'm just building audiences off the cuff. And I'm like, okay, entrepreneurship, they're struggling with content marketing methods. So I'd probably narrow that audience and you could actually put content marketing, right? Don't overthink this. So many people like overthink. Let's see, there we go, content marketing. So as you can see here, if we have the box checked for extended reach, your estimated audience size is 153. If we uncheck this box, right? 979,000 to 1.1 million. So Dr. Yam, keep it simple, coach. Sorry, I'm just reading how y'all's names are on Zoom. I would actually run power content to these two audiences. And here's the thing. You can't really target, quote, new solopreneurs if they are in the ads manager, right? What you're going to want to do is create copy that is going to be polarizing to people who are not new. So in your copy, you want to say, attention, new solopreneurs. Okay. So here's the thing. We want to use our content to get these people out of these audiences that we're building. Okay. Here's the thing. Like, if I am like, for instance, yesterday, one of my private students in the premium program, she was like, hey, I'm trying to target new moms who are trying to lose their baby weight. She was overthinking her targeting so much that she had CrossFit. She had a whole bunch, like she was building out her layered audiences and she had like CrossFit and all of these things. And then she had also narrowed it down to a whole bunch of more baby interests, like baby magazines and all of these baby stores. And then she had it narrowed down again to moms with aged children, 0 to blah, blah, blah. And I said, girl, you're getting way too crazy with the targeting. And this is where people put themselves in a high cost ad situation, is when they get too crazy with targeting. I like to do layered targeting that will give you more room and use my content to actually pull my ideal audience out of there, right? So Dr. Yam, or Yam, I think Yam, sorry about that if I'm mispronouncing that. They could just literally say, hey, new solopreneurs, are you struggling with content marketing, right? Call them out. So I'll give you guys another example. So one of my agency clients, who I set up his ads for and his VAs now in my premium program managing them, they target 7-figure e-com business owners. Not 6-figure e-com business owners, 7-figure e-com business owners. And so what we ended up doing was we didn't overthink the targeting. Okay. So here's what we did. I did e-commerce, I narrowed audiences, and I did Shopify. That's it. Right? Daisy. Yeah, Daisy, you were the person that was overthinking your targeting. Thank you. I'm glad that you were on here today. See, if you become a private client, I use you guys as examples to help others. I love that. So I'm going to give you guys an example of exactly how we did this. Okay. So my private client, he only targets 7-figure e-com store owners, right? This is one of the target audiences that we're using. Very, very simple, right? E-commerce, and they must also match Shopify, right? Now here's the thing. We're going to get a lot of 5-figure e-commerce business owners. We're going to get a lot of 6 figures. But here's what we did. In his content, like for instance, he loves doing video content. And so he'll do his headline, his promise of value. And then right after his promise of value, he'll say, hey, by the way, if you are not at 7 figures with your e-commerce store, if you're stuck at 5 figures or 6 figures, stop watching this video. What I'm about to show you will not work for your business. So we're using Facebook to get in front of his audience, but we're using the content to actually pull his ideal audience out instead of going in and narrowing and putting luxury, all of these different things, that people want to do. Like, they would put in like luxury and all of this stuff. Like, we don't need to do that. Now, on the flip side of that, I'm going to show you guys another example of what we're doing. Is this training helpful today? I'm seeing a couple of people being like, wow, this is awesome. So I appreciate that. So one of my agency clients, she is a business coach, but I mean, when I tell you guys that you should know your ideal audience, let me tell you how awesome my client knows her audience. And so there's this exercise that I like to do with my clients, and you know what, I'm just going to tell you guys how I do this. So I always tell my private clients, when we're building out their audiences, the first question I say is, if I was standing outside of Walmart and your ideal client was inside, and my client stops me, she goes, whoa, no. She's like, this is not going to work. My ideal clients do not shop at Walmart. And I was like, Jessica, she's like, no, my clients do not shop there. Can we use another example? And I was like, okay, cool. I'm standing outside a mall. I'm standing outside Nordstrom Rack, whatever, right? And I was like, if I had to go find your ideal client inside, describe that person to me, and how would I go find it, right? And she starts talking and she's like, well, first of all, she's like, I know my audience, they're women. They live on the East Coast. They live on the West Coast. They do not live in the Midwest. They do not live in the South. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, how do I go find them in the store? She's like, here's the thing. They're probably shopping somewhere like at Whole Foods or Nordstrom. They're wearing their Lululemon yoga pants. They drive a soccer mom vehicle. They are soccer moms. They go to places like Orange Theory and Soul Cycle, and they eat healthy. They do yoga. They take care of their bodies. And I was like, wow, that's pretty freaking awesome, right? And so we have to think outside, like, who is our ideal audience? And so she has a business coaching business. And so literally I just went ahead and I took all of my audiences right here, right? She's a business coach. So she has the same audience that I do. The only difference is when we went to narrow this, I started typing in Soul Cycle, Lululemon, and stuff like that. And so I did a layer, and I also, created an audience that excluded the Midwest and the South. But you guys see like how knowing your audience in these situations is super, super important. Like, you have to know who your audience is. And then, like our lesson yesterday, right? We have to know how to adopt their language and be able to talk to them and let them know, yes, I am the person that could help you. I know where you are. I know where I can take you, and here's how we're going to do that. And you have to do that in a language that speaks directly to them. Facebook targeting, like, I hear this all the time. Facebook's just taking our money. Facebook's just blah, blah. Guys, you don't have time for that BS. Facebook's not trying to take your money. All Facebook advertising, all we're doing is paying Facebook to put it in front of audiences, right? If I want to go out to a cold audience and I have a new piece of content, if I put out a piece of content and tell Facebook to put it in front of Amy Porterfield's audience and my content does not get the engagement, is that Facebook's fault? Come on. Is that Facebook's fault? I'm paying Facebook to put my content in front of Amy Porterfield's audience. If I put my content in front of Amy Porterfield's audience and it doesn't work, is that Facebook's fault? No. So why do so many people think that Facebook is taking their money? It's not taking your money. If you guys implement everything that I'm showing you guys this week, you will win, and it will be fail-proof. But you have to be willing to put in the work. So that is going to conclude our targeting training for today. But hopefully I made this a little bit easier for you guys. Did I make this training a little bit easier? Because I have a feeling that so many of you guys have been overthinking everything, right? Probably overthinking the strategy, overthinking the copy. If you haven't watched yesterday's copywriting training, definitely watch that, because it goes hand in hand over what we talked about today. But then, like, use that exercise that I was just talking about. Like, ask yourself, right? Like, am I putting the right content in front of the right people? That's it. Facebook's not trying to screw you over. Facebook actually wants you to stay, wants you to put relevant content. It's just punishing you if you are making its users mad, right? You guys see all the bad ads out there and all of the bad, people who misuse the Facebook ads platform, and we're the people that have to suffer for it, but it makes us all better marketers. Right? Back whenever, like, think about this. Back in the day when I worked in television, I couldn't tell CBS only show this commercial in front of males ages 35 to 45 who are in the market to buy a car, who, like, Ford, hate Chevy. And like, think about that, right? Like, back in the TV, when I did a car commercial, I couldn't tell CBS, only place this car commercial in front of people who, no. We had to learn how to create content that appealed to the audience that we were trying to attract. So as we continue throughout this process, I want you guys to just get more confident and more comfortable with using the Facebook ads platform, because then what we're going to do, because you guys know me, I'm going to keep, training you guys on different platforms. We're going to take what we learned, and I'm going to show you guys how to apply this to YouTube, how to apply this to LinkedIn, how to apply this to any social media advertising platform that you guys want to use, because it is just as easy. And each social media platform, and the reason that if you once you master Facebook, it's going to be so much easier to go to other platforms, because I hear this all the time. Is, Laurel, Facebook ads aren't working, so I'm going to go to YouTube ads. It doesn't work that way. If your ads aren't working on Facebook, they're not going to work on YouTube. Let's just get that out of the way. I always see that ad all the time. YouTube ads beat Facebook ads every single time. No, they do not. Okay. They just want to sell you a YouTube program. And that's why I've included all of my training for everything that I do for my agency clients, because I don't just do Facebook ads. But if you guys stick with me, you guys are going to learn how to do everything. You don't have to go pay for all these pricey programs. I'm going to include it here in the $7 program. I'm going to show you guys everything that I know. And a lot of people are always like, well, Laurel, why should I upgrade to premium? Well, do you love this back and forth with me right now? Like, do you like getting to ask questions? My premium students get these types of trainings 14 times a month, where they get to ask questions. We look at their ads. That's the difference. Like, you're not going to, there's some more sophisticated content in premium, but for the most part, it's me helping people execute this stuff, because, my one thing is cutting out the overwhelm, right? The only thing we're doing different in premium that we're not doing in the $7 program is they get more of me. But you guys are, getting a lot of me this week. So I hope you guys are enjoying this training as much as I am. I am having a freaking blast. I'm getting to know a lot of you guys. I'm getting to know a lot of your audiences and your businesses. And it's just awesome. So I'm super excited to be doing this. And I hope that I will see you guys on tomorrow and also on Friday. And we are going to, we're going to knock this out of the park. Okay. So your homework today, okay, can't forget the homework. Today, I want you to, if you haven't already, okay, and I'm going to post the links. I'm going to post the link to Interest Explorer. As a thank you, please use my Interest Explorer affiliate link. Just as a thank you. If not, that's cool. I would appreciate it if you did. I'm going to post that inside here. I'm actually going to go and post all of the links right now into the training site. That way you guys have this document. And I'm going to put in all of the the links and everything that you guys need. And for your homework, I want you to build your warm audience. I want you to build your lookalike audiences. And then I want you to start building your layered audiences, okay? Because here's the thing. Once you build your layered audiences, you just copy each layer and they turn into your big group audiences. You guys see what I did there? Major job. Look at this, right? Here's the thing. These, your ad says this is one big group audience. This is a second big group audience. So once you build your layered audiences, you already have all the other audiences too, because your big groups are just parts of your layer. Pretty cool, huh? And then your indie audiences are just individual parts of your big group campaign. So yes, so inside the audience manager, right? If you go here and you go to audiences, I always recommend building your audiences before, but here's something to know. And the reason that I showed you guys the audiences inside the ads manager versus the audience manager is because when you're building your audiences here, right? So if I go to saved audience and I start building my audience here, Facebook does not give me the option to use the expansion. So just know that once you build your layered audiences here, once you go to use them in the ads manager, and I'll show you guys whenever we're setting up tomorrow, that you're going to have to edit that audience and check the reach, expanded reach targeting if you want to use the expanded reach targeting. But I recommend that you guys use the audience manager over here in order to build out your audiences, because then they'll save. I always recommend building them first. So Deanna just asked a really good question. She said, if I already have my warm audiences pre-iOS, do I delete them or just rename them as old? You could delete them, absolutely, and just rebuild them. That's a great question. I deleted all of mine. Whenever I started going through everything, like I literally, like, look how small, like I'm not using that many audiences. Like these are actually the audiences that I have saved right here. Look, I don't have that many audiences. I just went and I recreated a lot of my audiences after iOS. So hopefully that cleared up a lot of questions right there. You guys get to work. We got a lot of stuff to do tomorrow. Who's ready to launch their first ad or their next ad? You guys got your homework done yesterday? Right? You wrote at least one ad, right? All you guys wrote at least one ad. You guys are very, very welcome. Very, very welcome. This is my pleasure. This program is so much fun for me, guys. Like it's fun. So thank you for trusting me with your stuff. Yes. If you want to target coaches, use my audience as it is. Steal my audiences. I've built them. I worked hard to build them. So I'm not worried about people stealing my audiences. So anyway, you guys have fun. Make sure if you haven't done your homework from yesterday, have at least one ad done. I'm going to challenge you guys to have that everyone places at least one ad tomorrow. Okay. I'm going to post the link to this document as soon as I get off this call right now. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to go and I'm going to give you guys this document. The video, I'm going to have to wait for Zoom to give it to me. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to post this document and I'm going to post the links to Interest Explorer and all of the fun stuff that you guys will need. And I hope that you guys have a very blessed day. I'm having so much fun with you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow.